United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. 1.03, adoption of the agenda. It is recommended that the agenda for May 11, 2022, regular meeting of the Board of School Trustees be adopted as presented.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. 2, recognition, 2.01, Beager Math Bowl Team, Ms. Kozik.
Good evening, President Parks, Mr. Barker, and Board. It is my pleasure to be here this evening. School City of Mishawaka Math Bowl competition took place on April 12th. Beager Elementary School hosted the event with teams competing from Liberty, Emmons, Hums, and Battelle. Congratulations to the Beager Elementary Math Bowl students for receiving first place at our local competition and even better, finishing 8th in the state of Indiana.
Wow.
They were led by their coach, Mr. Matt Wendt. Would you like them to come up?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Matt Wendt. Millie Beltink. You guys can come on right up here. Lauren Stevens. Fatana Taylor. Malia Moore. Danica Ruskowski. Will Huntsberger. Layla Campbell. Jackson Cooper. Garrett McCollister. Julian Scott. And Nico Cardenas. I would like to congratulate the entire Bulldog team on their collaborative effort and their ability to synergize in the Math Bowl competition. They were extremely fun to watch, working out problems together in the stands with Mr. Wendt. With Mr. Wendt's direction, the team placed first, and we are very proud of our Bulldogs.
We would like to take a picture, so if you guys will come up a little bit closer, we'll all come out and then take a picture. Jen, will you take a picture?
I missed out on a lot of experiences because I thought that was so cool. But I never made it out of the class.
I know you did.
Yeah.
Look at you. Yeah, but you're probably like a 4th grade size, not.
Yeah, I'm definitely a 4th grade size.
You're not 6th grade. You're not a 6th grade size, huh?
Great job, Beager. Moving on, 2.02, Mishawaka High School, Scholastic Writing Club, Dr. Hickel.
Thank you. The Scholastic Arts and Writing Competition is open to students across the nation and starts first at the regional level. At that level, the students can submit their artwork or writing in a variety of categories. You're probably familiar, Mishwaka has a phenomenal participation and presence in the arts portion of this. We often have their work displayed. We've honored the students in the past. But up to this year, we had never participated in the writing portion. Mr. Randy Ebright had the goal of having a similar level of participation and success in the writing arena, since we have so many gifted and talented students at MHS. But we did not have a club or a way for the students to participate. Thankfully, through his leadership, we were able to launch the inaugural year of the Scholastic Writing Club under Mr. Randy Ebright, and they achieved great success. His goals in particular for starting this club were providing a safe and creative environment for students to compose and revise their original writing pieces, as well as to teach those variety of writing styles and genres and be able to offer feedback to students who are passionate about writing. Once those pieces are submitted, they're reviewed by individual experts in the field. These can be teachers, professors, community members that work in the field. Luckily, we had students who submitted short stories, poems, memoirs, critical essays, and even a dramatic script. There was so much diversity in the work that was submitted in this first year. Pieces can be awarded several different levels of awards. They can receive an honorable mention, a silver key, or a gold key, depending on the evaluator's recommendation. Gold key recipients then go on to the next round. Mishawaka High School in its first year had 7 students who submitted a total of 18 works. 3 students earned awards for 8 of their submitted pieces. We were able to earn 3 gold keys, 3 silver keys, 2 honorable mentions. And Mr. Ebright won an award for the Scholastic Outstanding Educator based upon student nominations. So at this time, I would ask Mr. Randy Ebright to come forward and be recognized for his exceptional leadership. And I don't think we had any members of his team, but if he wants to talk about the students, he's welcome to.
Thank you, Dr. Hickel. I appreciate it. President Parks, Mr. Barker, and School Board, I'm really thankful for the opportunity that we've had this year to launch the Scholastic Writing Club. I'm naturally very, very competitive. This is only my second year at Mishawaka High School, and walking through the hallways and seeing all the artwork and awards. One of my questions early on was, what about the writing opportunities for these students? And so I saw an opportunity, and also having this be my second year, I saw a lot of talent and ambition in the students that I work with. I actually wanted to wait until the spring to launch it. Word got out that I was thinking about it, and the students insisted that we started early and that we submit pieces for this past January, and we did. And so, again, I want to make sure that I mention Catherine Hill, as well as Emma Parsons and Jada Rogers. 2 of those students I know at the National Art Honor Society tonight at Mishawaka High School, that ceremony. But again, I'm really looking forward to next year and beginning, again, and building on our success. So again, thank you for your support, and thank you for all the kids who participated in the club. Thank you.
Congratulations. We look forward to seeing some of those writings and meeting the students who made those writings. And so feel free to come back and bring them back for recognition for all their hard work. Oh, okay. So we're getting ready to move into the business portion. So all of those youngsters out there, I'm sure you'd rather go home than stay here. You may leave. And nice job, Bigger. All right, 3 comments and questions from the floor. 3.01, representatives of Mishawaka Parent Group. 3.02, representatives of school employees. 3.03, representatives of Mishawaka Education Foundation. Hello, Claire.
Got my email straight from Jane Wright, ready to recite for you guys. So my name is Claire Johnson. I teach at Beager Elementary School, and I'm also a board member for Mishawaka Education Foundation. And we are currently trying to fulfill all 2022 wish list requests. So you can visit mishawakaedu.org. It is a new website. Or you can go to the MEF Facebook page and make a wish come true for the SEM staff. Also, you can plan now for the 2022 Made in Mishawaka Blooming in Mishawaka Luncheon on Monday, June 6th at the Mishawaka Holiday Inn Convention Center. MEF will be honoring Marshall Wells and Dick Curry for their service to SEM and the Mishawaka community. MEF will also feature this year's grant recipients in the Beyond the Cave with Superintendent Mr. Barker giving the State of the SEM address. I'm sure it will be great. So we have so much to celebrate. Please be there. Lastly, you can mark your calendar for the MEF Chip In for Education golf outing on Monday, July 11th, and that is at Morris Park Country Club in South Bend. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Claire. Uh, 3.04, general public. We have Andrea Stevens signed up. Come on up to the podium. If you will please state your name and your address.
Andrea Stevens, 315 North State Street, Mishawaka. This is more of a curiosity question, trying to figure things out. Should have asked a couple months ago. I'm just curious if anybody has an answer to why the high school graduation is on a Thursday evening instead of on a weekend, because I do have folks coming in from out of town, and they're asking me, and I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know if anybody could help out with curiosity of the reasoning, if it's going to be something in the future that they're going to keep doing it on the weekdays, or if it's going to go back to the weekends.
Okay. We will get back with you, and we will have answers for you for that.
Okay. thank
Okay?
you. Thank you.
Thank you. For consent agenda, 4.01, approval of the minutes of the April 13th, 2022 board meeting. It is recommended that the minutes of the April 13th, 2022 board meeting be approved as presented. 4.02, approval of bill warrants and payroll. It is recommended that the board approve payment of bills, warrants, and payroll in the amount of $5,230,315.15 from the appropriate funds. 4.03, approval of the March financial report. It is recommended that the board approve the March 2022 financial report as presented. 4.04, acceptance of donations. It is recommended that the board accept the donations as listed and documented. 4.05, approval of the overnight extended field trips. It is recommended that the board approve the extended field trips as listed and documented. 4.06, approval of the consent agenda. It is recommended that the Board of School Trustees approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. 5, vision initiatives. 5.01, planning for a preferred future of educational excellence. Mr. Barker.
Thank you, President Parks. We have had 2 meetings each, or 1 meeting each of the Community Collaborating Committee and the High Priority Facility Needs Work Group since our last school board meeting. And I want to report just briefly to you on that. The High Priority Facility Needs Work Group met on Tuesday, April 19th. And in that meeting, Dr. Hickel led the group through a discussion on aspects of the current learning spaces and school safety objectives that we have for Hums Elementary. And then following that presentation, Mr. Newman led the group through a discussion on possible options to solve some of those issues for Hums. Then Dr. Staley led the group through assignment to their subcommittees for all of the facility needs that we're looking at across the district. And then that group will then be working to kind of set those priorities, starting with Hums and then looking at all of our facilities. Then the Community Collaborating Committee also met that same week on Thursday, April 21st. And at that meeting, Dr. Hickel led the group through the district's revenue enhancement plan for increased enrollment. And I think that's something that we need to get a meeting scheduled for all of you to hear that information. President Parks and I have discussed that, and we'll set a time either at a current meeting to either maybe have a public work session or even do it within the meeting. But it by itself will probably take about an hour, so it might be more of a work session item that we do before or after an upcoming meeting, either in our last meeting in May or our first meeting in June. Both of these groups will meet again next week on Tuesday and Thursday night.
Perfect. Thanks for the update. 6, reports and discussion items. 6.01, wellness update. Ms. Cindy.
Thank you for having me. Matt has agreed to start this video for me because I'm afraid I'm going to mess it up if I do.
I worry about kids all the time. Thinking about what kids face today and those challenges, we have to realize they're exposed to a lot more, they see a lot more.
The real issue of kids committing suicide or self-harm, depression, a lot of these mental issues and obstacles so many people, and especially young students, are going through, a lot of times they don't know who to turn to for help.
Actually, last week, one of my students that's within my class he told me it twice. He was like, I just want to put something around my neck and jump off of a bridge.
They don't know how they feel, if it's normal, if it's not normal, and they're looking for a way out, and they're looking for someone to listen.
Like I said, I didn't know him but a week, and he trusted me to tell me that, and so I'm glad that we were able to get the guidance he needed.
Everybody needs a person And that person doesn't necessarily have to be their classroom teacher, or it could be the custodian, it could be myself, the principal, it could be the social worker, the secretary, but everybody needs to have a person.
I want to be the one for kids. Even after 20 years, I still want to be the one that they say, you know all my secrets, or I've only ever told you this, or I've actually had a student come back to me as an adult and say, do you remember me in 3rd grade? You saved my life.
Whether you're an adult or a student in the building, I think creating an area in the classroom and in your greater community where kids can feel respected, listened to, and heard, I mean, that makes all the difference. If you can make a kid feel safe enough to ask silly, serious, or socially conscious questions, I mean, that's what we're all here for, right?
When we're present and mindful and kind and accepting to anyone, whether it's a student or staff or someone on the sidewalk, to have a positive exchange with someone can be long-lasting, life-lasting, or what I would like to think of as eternal. You plant a seed with someone and hope to see that blossom, but it's a beginning. It's definitely a beginning.
One of the things our football program does is at the end of every practice, you check in with your specific position coach, and our coaches are tasked with having conversations with our kids not related to football. You're going to talk about anything under the sun, just not football related. You're going to build a relationship, connect with someone that you don't see on a daily basis. And then our kids, I think, understand that there's more people in their corner than maybe they originally thought.
And no matter what capacity you work in, whether you're a teacher, a custodian, a secretary, an aide, you get to know these children really well, and you can tell. If they're having a bad day, you're going to be there for them.
Someone once told me students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So I always want them to know that they can talk to me.
I tease them a little, make them laugh, so they can come to school. That's what I do. So if I can make them laugh, make them smile, my job's done.
Maybe a little fist bump or a little touch them on the back and just say, hey, how are things going? Just something that doesn't bring attention to myself or them, and I just want to check on them and let them know, hey, I'm here if you need me.
Sometimes I'll pull students in the hallway, and the one question I'll ask them is, how are you doing? And I cannot emphasize how often I've done that, and tears immediately flow from students' faces.
If I see that someone is looking sad or withdrawn, quiet, different than they usually are, that's a time to step in and say, is everything okay? I mean, sometimes they just want you to tie their shoe. Sometimes they just need breakfast, but sometimes they need more.
The way that you interact with a student matters. The kids love that one-on-one. And so, yeah, taking that one step it's awesome, and it for sure makes a difference.
It reminds me of our most important role in the classroom, and that is for the safety and well-being of our students as people. Even before education, it's about their mental health and how they are as physical beings.
It's the one place they will feel loved, connected with, valued and appreciated. And I'm so thankful for our schools and our staff that recognize that, because not in every case, but we have students who live some really challenging lives when they leave here. And I'm proud of the work that happens while they're here and how they feel cared for when they're within our schools.
One person, one thing, one smile, one interaction, one anything. The concept of one thing making a difference.
One person can provide a chuckle, a smile, a laugh, and ultimately hope.
Everybody needs somebody, and there ought to be one person out there for somebody.
I like to try to help those kids. I want to be somebody that can help them.
And to see them work hard, even when they're struggling, that does amaze me.
If I get one kid to do one good thing, that's a start.
When someone says, I think you're doing a great job at this, someone is noticing all the hard work you're putting in, even though you don't feel especially great about it in the moment.
There's no doubt in my mind that one person can positively impact another.
So that video was actually
I worry about kids all the
made at the end of last school year with a project with the MEF and Meg Sauer. We just wanted to take a minute to share that with everyone. We hadn't really gotten it out yet, and then talk about the mental health projects we're still doing with School City. So just a couple of the things that we're working on. Our EAP program, we had 54 of our staff or their family members reach out for a total of 154 visits last year. The majority of those visits centered on stress and anxiety, which I think probably says something about the work we need to keep doing about mental health. We threw our first mental health fair last summer, One Day in the Sun, and you will get an earful about that later. The high school and middle school have initiated the program Sources of Strength while working with Oaklawn. That is a great peer mentor program that talks about suicide prevention. And then what you're seeing on the screen and what the board members should all have at their podium is a mental health brochure that we put together and sent home with everybody at School City, our staff, our students. Just has resources and some ideas on what you can do if you feel like you're in need of help. We've also been working a lot on employee engagement. This is, I will admit, probably my favorite part of my job. We try to hit it from all angles. We look at doing physical engagement, like our race across the country, which has probably got the highest participation of any of our employee engagement that we do. But then we also try to do things that have the employees giving to each other. So the laughter card, which is what's up there, was something that the employees could take a moment and write a funny joke, just a stupid dad joke, and share it with somebody else. And we also did something where we have posters, you might have seen them here in our other buildings, where you could write what your quote coworkers' superpowers are, what you feel that their superpowers are, because sometimes we struggle to see that in ourselves. It's nice to have it pointed out. We also do things like Let's Get Quizzical, which was a trivia competition, because our people like to compete. They have a lot of fun with that. So, and Sarah and I have a lot of fun putting those questions together for them. We have had on-site health with our partners at HealthLink, the health department, St. Joe Med Center, and on-site health. I'm not going to go through all these statistics because it's not very fun, but I do want to point out that we provided, between COVID vaccines, flu shots, and student vaccines, 1,075 vaccines, which I think is a really impressive number. And that's just over the last year. 729 of those were COVID vaccines. Through our health insurance program, we have disease management, which is through a company called MedWatch. They have had 476 interactions in 2021 with employees. When you look at the different programs that are covered under there, the asthma, coronary artery disease, chronic heart failure, COPD, and diabetes, two of those, the coronary artery disease and the diabetes, along with being in the program, as long as they follow all of the guidelines, so they keep their regular doctor's appointments, they meet monthly over the phone with their nurse case manager, all of their medications and doctor's appointments are free. And that's just one of the ways that we're trying to keep our population healthy while also keeping the healthcare costs down. The care management through Select Health is more a nurse case manager who is willing to work one-on-one with an employee if they're having trouble getting into a doctor or navigating a difficult health situation. They call all of our employees if they go to the ER. The employee will get a phone call the day after or 2 days later saying, hey, do you understand everything? Is there anything we can do with you? And then this year we started a diabetes prevention program. We only had 12 participants in our first year, and we're hoping it goes better next year, but St. Joe's providing that through a grant, and it's just to try to help people who are at risk for diabetes manage their health and hopefully fall out of that category, that pre-diabetes category. So what's next? We are currently working on our 5-star Achieve Well, which is through the Wellness Council of Indiana, which is part of the Chamber of Commerce. To earn that, you have to prove that you have at least 5 years of continual wellness, and that has grown over the last 5 years. You have to show that you have community and leadership involvement, and that it's becoming a part of the culture of your workplace. So I feel like we're there. We're working really hard on getting it, and I believe that in August at the Wellness Council Summit that we will receive our 5-star Achieve Well. Working with Corey on getting the Handle with Care program going. That is a program in partnership with the Mishwaka Police Department. and the AARC that will, if a student has anything involving the police at their house or any time that their name comes up with the police, the schools will just get notified that something has happened. They're not going to get any details. They're just going to know that something happened so that we know that that child might need just a little extra care that day. If maybe they're tired in class, we know that something happened. Maybe they just need to go to the nurse's office and lie down. If they're hungry, maybe they haven't had breakfast, so let's get them fed. It's just another way to look out for the mental health of our students. We're working on doing some summer fitness classes. We have a couple of teachers that are going to do, one of them is going to do bar boxing over the summer, and one of them is going to do yoga. Hoping to get fitness room access at John Young for next school year. We had it lined up and then COVID shut everything down and we never went back to it. We have been doing a lot for employee recognition, so we're hoping to do digital birthday recognition for the employees, probably just a monthly email with everybody's birthdays for that month. New employees, as we're going to a digital onboarding process to try to recognize them a little bit more. We're going to try to do some getting to know you surveys that will go directly to the principals, and then a welcome gift, and then mental health. I can't say it enough. Just focusing on mental health, finding different ways to address what we have going on. We've definitely seen it more since COVID, but even as COVID started to ease, it's still definitely forefront. So we need to keep going with mental health, which brings us to One Day in the Sun. I am really here to invite you all to the mental health fair. That is why I'm here. I hope everybody shows up and enjoys it. We had a great turnout last year, lots of fun. We're making it bigger this year. We're getting more student involvement. They're going to run some of our booths out there. We're going to have a bounce house, free lunch. Bonnie Doon will be out there. So June 25th from 11 to 2, you guys should have the flyer up there. We would love to have you join us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Amazing programs.
Watching that video, I can tell you that we have a lot of people under these roofs that really do care and go all in and show the support to our students. And it just makes you realize how tight this community is and how much School City cares. And so great job for bringing that to our attention. And to hear her, you all have to come to the Day in the Sun. Okay. Thank you, Jenny. 6.02, March financial statements and monthly comparison. Mr. Newman.
Thank you, President Parks and members of the board. Here, as usual, please feel free to stop me at any point in time. We're going to start with the education fund. So again, we're looking at the month of March. We're through the first quarter of 2022. State tuition support, pretty much right in line with where we've budgeted, right at that 25%. We've already exceeded what I estimated for student fee collections. Interest earnings, again, ahead of where projected. Overall revenue, right at that 25% mark, again, right where we would have expected it for this time of the year. Again, just a reminder, we modified the transfer to operations from $8 million to $6 million for 2022. Again, we can change that at any time throughout the school year, and we might need to increase it just because circuit breaker losses are going to be a little higher than I had originally anticipated. But just a reminder that we reduced that to $6 million, so we've transferred $1.5 million through March. Salaries, a little bit behind where I had budgeted at just under 22%. The last couple years, we had a 3-pay month in January. We have not had a 3-pay month yet through March. So just a reminder on that. Benefits are a little bit ahead of salaries. That's because we make our severance payment in January or February of each year. So that'll start to come back down start to come more in line with the salaries as we move throughout the year. We haven't spent a lot in terms of professional services or property services or purchase services. Again, we've shifted some purchases into ESSER funds, some things to our curricular materials funds, and then again, we have our curriculum and instruction department with all of their grants has certainly helped to offload some of those expenses out of the education fund, which again will just result in savings. that we could spend in the future. But overall expenditures were just under 22%. Again, no 3-pay month yet, so really not terribly out of line with where we would have expected to be at the end of March. We've generated over $1.7 million in terms of an operating surplus through March, and we end the month with just over $9.5 million in our education fund. All good news in the education fund, again, through the month of March. The operating referendum fund, again, not too much to discuss. Again, most of that revenue hits in January and December. We do collect some student fee money if they maliciously damage or lose. Most of the time it's damage to their one-to-one device. When we collect that money, it comes back to the operating referendum fund. Salaries and benefits at right around that 22-23%. Again, right in line with where we would expect them to be. Again, running a deficit in this fund through March, once again, because the revenue comes in June and December, but $710,000 in our operating referendum fund as of the end of March. Not going to talk too much about the debt service fund. Again, revenue hits in June and December. Most of our debt payments are made again in June and December, with the exception of common school fund loans, which are made on a monthly basis, but again, ending March with $770,000 in our debt service fund. No activity in our capital, or our referendum capital debt service fund. Again, all that occurs in January or June and December. And so we arrive at our operations fund. Again, no local property taxes or other taxes collected. That'll occur in June and December. We collect some miscellaneous revenue in this fund, but again, the primary revenue, at least through March, is again the transfers coming from the education fund at $1.5 million. Total expenditures, again, just a reminder, we've got those custodians coming out of our ESSER funds, but I did budget them in total into the operations fund. So that's why you see only 12% expended in salaries and a low 13% in benefits, but those are again in line with where I would have expected them, considering how we're paying for custodians right now. Again, no other big surprises in terms of the operations fund. We are running a operating deficit again through the end of March of about $307,000, and our ending balance is just over $2.5 million. I neglected to note what the custodial expenses were in ESSER. That was my error. I'll make sure to get those plugged in for the next month. School lunch fund. Again, we continue to do very, very well in the school lunch fund. I'm going to have a purchase later this evening that we'll go over. But again, just a reminder, all student breakfast and student lunch is free this school year. That's going to end, unfortunately, with at the end of this school year, we'll go back to the typical practice, free and reduced or paid lunch next school year. But again, we've generated quite a bit of revenue through the month of March 31st. Expenses right in line with where we would expect them to be, but we now have over $1 million in our school lunch fund, and I think we're probably going to peak around somewhere around $1.6 million by the time we get to June. So Linda, Director of Food Service, Linda Cupp, is working on some other equipment type needs that we have, because again, that we have equipment that needs to be updated, and certainly with these types of balances, that's what we're going to look to spend this excess money on. But again, $1,036,000 in our school lunch fund as of the end of March. Curricular materials fund. Again, we received our state reimbursement in the month of March for curricular materials. Again, any student who qualifies for free and reduced lunch, we get to count them on our submission to the state, and the state reimburses us. I think it's about $82 per student for any student it's really not free and reduced lunch, it's textbook assistance. Sorry about that. But again, we received $236,000 from the state of Indiana for those students. And then not many expenditures for the month of March. Again, we'll have, I think Sarah's going to walk you through an item later this evening where we're going to spend into our curricular materials fund. But again, over $1 million in our curricular materials fund as of the end of March.
Alex.
Yes.
I just would like to make a comment. In January of 2015, Holly and I first came on the board, and that fund habitually was $1 million negative balance deficit or more. And since we've been on the board, I certainly wouldn't claim responsibility for this. It's come from proper management, and I applaud everything that you've done. And you can see it on the chart. I mean, this thing has turned around. Typically, I think this is a fund statewide that's a problem. And I know at the time I questioned way back in 2015 what was going on here, and I identified that I think over in South Bend, their textbook fund had a negative balance of about $2 million at that time. And I don't know where they're at now, and I don't care, but they don't have you.
Yeah.
And I think you've done a great job, and I just wanted to mention it.
Well, I really appreciate that. I will have to say I can't take all the credit for it. And again, I think got to give a lot of credit to curriculum and instruction for the creative ways that we've procured. I'll probably use some wrong words here, but the way we've procured certain curriculums, again, they deserve a lot of the credit for that as well. But certainly bringing the revenue and the expenditures in line, I think that was big.
I think it takes a team effort, but it also takes a good leader.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Nicely done.
So again, happy to announce that we had over $1 million in the curricular materials fund as of the end of March. And then finally, we get to currently my least favorite fund, the self-insurance fund. This is the only fund right now that we're really having issues in. And again, that's in the medical insurance. Again, $783,000 in medical claims in a single month. That's the worst month that we've had since I've been here. Again, we've reduced our cash balance by $261,000 just through 3 months of 2022. So again, we'll keep our eyes on this. Again, sometimes bad months just happen, and that's just sometimes how the claims fall. But again, we're really now on probably coming up on 10-month type slide in our self-insurance fund. And if the board remembers, we put $1 million in there at the end of 2021. So it's not all great news. I think the self-insurance fund is something we need to continue to keep a close eye on and try to get our claims back down or try to come up with something to turn that around, because we're not going to have $1 million to transfer in there at the end of the year every year. So that would be the one area of concern that I have right now is in self-insurance. But again, we'll see how that progresses throughout the year. And then finally, just wanted to share our summary document looking at March. But anyways, this is again looking at education and operations funds together. We end March with just over $12 million. So again, even between these two funds, we're continuing once again to add to our cash balance due to several reasons. And again, I don't want to continue to repeat it, but don't want to forget that those custodians are being paid out of ESSER funds. That money will run out.
That money will run out.
So we do need to keep that in mind as well. But again, I'm happy with where the school corporation is at as of the end of March, with the exception of that pesky insurance. So happy to answer any questions the board may have, but those are the financials for the month of March.
Thank you, Alex. It sounds like, Jen, you need to get the yoga and exercise class a little sooner. We need to get people healthy.
I jokingly blame Jenny every month.
Now, Alex, I know you're not presenting April and May right now, but do you happen to know offhand if that self-insurance fund is continuing to trend?
Jenny, please stop me if I'm wrong. I think we had a decent month of April. We did have a decent month of April. Okay, we did have, and I don't know that we have final well, we wouldn't have final May numbers because we're not through May yet, so, sorry. But we did have a decent April, yes.
It was the extended rain and the clouds and the drizzly mess outside that was keeping people down.
Rebates have been about a 4 to 5 month lag after the close of the quarter, but they've been consistent, I would say. Let's move into Oxient. So we should be due, I think it'll show up in April maybe, I think. I'm not sure. But about 5 months after the close of the quarter, we've been receiving the rebates. But we are usually about 2 rebates in arrears whenever we're displaying the financials. So that's a good point, because about $280,000 of that number we're owed in terms of rebates at any given time. So great point, Bill.
Thank you, Alex. Are there any more questions? Okay. 7, Human Resources, 7.01, Personnel Report, Mr. Caldroni.
Thank you, President Parks. After I make my recommendation tonight, if I could make an announcement after you guys move on your vote, I'd appreciate that. It is recommended that the Board of School Trustees approve the personnel report dated May 11th, 2022, as presented.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'd just like to take a few minutes tonight and make an important introduction to a new member of the School City of Mishawaka family. Mishawaka High School announced today, and I'm proud to have the opportunity to introduce him this evening. Coach Brodie Bender will be our new varsity boys basketball coach at Mishawaka High School. I'm going to read a few things, and he's going to make a few comments, just information that I think is important for you guys to know. Coach Bender grew up in this area. He's a graduate of Jimtown High School, also a graduate of Ball State University, and he's been involved in education at several different schools: Jimtown, Tippy Valley, Manchester, Elkhart Central, and obviously his last stop here, the last 4 years at Carroll in Flora, Indiana. He's got a degree, undergraduate degree in physical education and health, and a master's in technology education. Coach Bender's teams at Carroll have gone 66-29 over the last 4 years. This past year, his basketball team was 24-2 and lost in the semi-state. But what an incredible run. During that tournament run, they knocked off the #1 team in the state to get to the Final Four. So he's worked with several successful coaches over the years and had great mentors at Jimtown High School that I know he talked about today a little bit at his press conference. And what was impressive during the interview process was he didn't talk a whole lot about himself, but what he wanted to do for our community and our kids. And when he talked about our kids, he talked about athletes and students. And that's imperative in our business today, especially the business that we're all in here. And he wants to be a great role model for those groups. And stood up. You know, he wants to be part of Mishawaka Community Schools and the high school, and I think it's going to be a great fit. At this time, let me introduce Brodie Bender. His wife Frankie's back here, and his 8-month-old baby girl Lainey. Correct?
Yep, that's it. Yep.
Enlighten us with a little speech.
Well, first off, I'm honored and proud to be here. Looking forward to this new challenge for me, and I guess all I can say is go Cavemen.
Lainey's been very patient.
Oh, my.
Oh, she's great.
And it's getting close to bedtime for her, too. So.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
We look forward to seeing the basketball games and the encouragement and the guidance that you give the team.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
So you got big shoes to fill.
I do.
So congratulations and welcome to Mishawaka.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
As Coach is walking away, I just want to say a few things. As a former has-been, almost never was basketball coach. You know, I wasn't a part of this process, but I did. I appreciate Jerome and Dean Huppert leading the committee, and on the committee were John Ross and Sherry Kaiser and our strength and conditioning coach, Mike Shearson, and They were all very, very excited after meeting with Coach Bender. And then I got the chance to meet him, and I know a lot of people who know him and know of him and his leadership. And we're getting a great coach, but we're getting an even better person, and we're happy to have your entire family here. He's giving up a great team to join us here, a team that returns a lot of players that went to a Final Four last year, and it speaks to how much he wants to be here and be a part of Mishawaka, and we couldn't be happier to have you, Coach. So welcome to your entire family. Thank you.
Have a good night. 8, Curriculum, Instruction, and Technology, 8.01, Out-of-District Enrollment, Recommendations for the 2021-2022 school year. Dr. Hickle.
Thank you, President Parks, members of the board. Indiana code requires that the board establish the number of students per school year that the corporation has the capacity to accept in each grade level for non-resident enrollment. After reviewing relevant factors, SCM administration would like to recommend that the school corporation accept new transfer students for the 2022-23 school year as follows. Kindergarten, 150 students, grade 1, 40 students, grade 2, 50 students, grade 3, 35 students, grade 4, 55 students, grade 5, 100 students, grade 6, 50 students, grade 7, 60 students, grade 8, 40 students, grade 9, 50 students, grade 10, 40 students, grade 11, 30 students, and grade 12, 20 students. Applications for transfer requests submitted by May 6, 2022 will receive notification of approval, denial by mail no later than May 13th. And notification of the school's location or placement for elementary students will be mailed to parents or guardians no later than May 27th. Additional transfer students will be accepted through the remainder of the 2022-23 school year if openings are available in the requested grade level. At this time, it's recommended that the Board of School Trustees approve the establishment of new transfer student capacity for the 2022-23 school year as presented.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 100 fifth graders? It's amazing.
Bless our fifth grade teachers.
I'll say a prayer now. 8.02, Ready Mathematics Contract, Dr. Hickle.
Thank you. We have been with Ready Mathematics for 6 years at the elementary level in K to 6th grade. And as you may be aware, we added 2 years ago John Young using Ready Mathematics, so we now have alignment K to 8. The contract that we are asking for renewal for has two major advantages. First of all, it is a 6-year contract, but it allows an annual clause that we can get out of the contract. So the advantage of the 6-year contract, though, is it locked in a lower price, and we still have that termination clause. So at any given time, we could choose that for the following year we wanted to change. The primary motivator for the continuation of this curriculum was the idea of we are getting great success with our students and really wanting to ensure that at this time we're mitigating the amount of change that we're asking of our teachers. We were able to pilot some new aspects of Ready with our teachers and get feedback. In addition to that, we surveyed all of our K to 6 teachers and then used that feedback to make adjustments and refinements. All in all, you have a cost breakdown in your folder tonight that walks through the different components that are included in this curriculum adoption or readoption. And then it breaks it down by year, and you can see that there is an overall savings of nearly $5 per student over the previous contract. So at this time, we would ask that you would approve the renewal of the Ready Mathematics contract.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. 9, Business and Operations, 9.01, recommendation to approve contract with Teledata and Cabling and Installation Services. Mr. Mabee.
Oh, that's another big step. The Cabling and Installation Services project addresses the necessary infrastructure updates to support the E-rate equipment purchase from this year. Bids for the Cabling Installation Services project were due Friday, April 29th. 2 bids were received from New Age Telecom and Teledata, as Teledata's bid at $179,903 was the lowest bid that satisfied the RFP specifications, we would recommend entering contract with them. With the following timeline, there's several factors go in that is the summer of 2022 for the network rack replacements, fall 2022 for pulling extra cables as time permits in the school schedule, and then next summer, summer of 2023, the actual physical installation of the wireless access points as part of the entire project and purchase.
Chris, this was a rebid. What did we say by rebidding?
The original bid out there was $260,000, so taking it down to 180, basically.
I have a question.
Yeah.
New Age is double. Their bid was double. Did you put them side by side? And, I mean, is this a responsible bid?
I think it is. I actually talked to and made sure that he felt
But you
comfortable.
went through it line item by,
Yeah.
do you know, I mean, where did they blow it? It's just,
I can make
typically
guesses,
you
but
find the bids much closer.
yeah, I know that was a concern. It's like, why is one so far? And plus, it was even different from their first bid. So I'm gonna, conjecture something in there has changed, but I'm not gonna, guess too much in
We've had
front of one.
Teledata before.
They've bid before, but this is our first project with them. But I have actually visited Middlebury schools and actually did a tour with their tech director on the work that they've done, along with other school. Warsaw has had their work done with Teledata. So wrong company name. New Age has done great work for us in the past. Always been happy with their work. Just this time, I'm sure there's some circumstance that it didn't work out.
Wow, that's a big different work.
I'd watch them.
All right, can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions?
I just have one question.
Mm-hmm.
What fund is using to pay for this?
This would come out of the operating referendum fund.
Okay. Anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. 9.02, declaration of obsolete property. Mr. Modlin.
Good evening. School City of Mishawaka owns outdated or broken technology equipment that is no longer operable or repairable. The items on the attached list include 208 computers, 208 monitors, 29 tablets, 45 printers, 318 miscellaneous audiovisual equipment, and 209 other various devices. The attached report covers items recycled during the period of November 5th to May 4th. I did look through some of these. When I started as a tech assistant in 2000, there was still some stuff that we had on the inventory. So some of these are things that I installed as a high school student. And so we are working through our inventory and getting that cleaned up. So those items are quite outdated. And so it was recommended that the Board of School Trustees declare the listed technology equipment as obsolete property.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Is there a wasteland for all of this stuff?
So it goes to, we take it to Goodwill, and they recycle it, recover whatever they can out of there. There's precious metals in electronics, so likely recovering that through one of those recycling as well.
Wow.
We run all of our electronics to Goodwill, and not as much as you guys do.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yep.
9.03, recommendation to approve purchase of walk-in freezer for Twin Branch Elementary. Mr. Newman.
Thank you, President Parks. The administration would like to install a walk-in cooler freezer combination unit at Twin Branch Elementary School. Twin Branch currently has smaller reach-in units. They're the only school, I believe they're the only school that does not have walk-ins currently. So they do not have the ability to adequately store their food on site. So historically, Hums has ordered certain food for Twin Branch. They store it at Hums. That makes the ordering a little bit clunky. There has to be some communication of what Twin Branch needs to Hums, and then it limits the ability for Hums to store their own food. So once again, going back to the financials, we have a nice balance in our food service fund, and one thing that we think makes sense is to go ahead and put a walk-in freezer cooler combo at Twin Branch. Director of Food Service Linda Cupp worked with Mike Faulkner to identify an area. We had 2 custodial closet space type areas at Twin Branch. We really don't need 2. So this is largely going to take the place of one of those custodial closets. once it's installed, if approved this evening, of course. Director of Food Service Linda Cupp requested quotes for this combo unit from 5 different vendors. 2 vendors chose not to submit a quote. Stafford Smith, Atlas, and HPS quoted the following. Stafford Smith, $45,974 on the equipment, with installation at $15,723, for a total of $61,697. Atlas did not quote the model that we requested. It was a similar model. That equipment cost $33,041, but they would not quote anything for the installation. And HPS did quote the master-built model that we requested, but they also do not do any of the installation ourselves. So Linda and I talked about it, and we were more comfortable going with the Stafford Smith and doing a turnkey project than to have one company deliver and then having to work with somebody else to have it installed. So we would like to accept the quote from Stafford Smith as the lowest, most responsive bidder. They quoted, again, the correct model of equipment, and they included the electrical, plumbing, and carpentry work. So we're asking for your favorable approval of Stafford Smith for the walk-in freezer cooler combo at Twin Branch Elementary School.
And here you have 2 vendors that quoted the same item and were less than 10% apart.
Right, yeah.
He's looking at
He's
you,
still
Chris.
on that.
He's looking at you, Chris.
Move for motion.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? All
Alex,
those in, oh,
hold
go
on,
ahead.
what will be done with the other walk-in, or the reach-in ones? Are they
So-
willing to take those?
They're not going to take them. I think we're going to keep the reach-in cooler at Twin Branch, and then not quite sure on the reach-in freezer yet. We might repurpose that to a different building if it makes sense, or we may sell it later on. But we didn't include those as a trade-in in this transaction.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 9.04, recommendation to approve asbestos remediation for the Mishawaka High School East Gym. Mr. Newman.
Thank you, President Parks. Bids for the Mishawaka High School East Gym asbestos remediation project were due May 6th at 3 p.m. This project was advertised on April 15th and 22nd, and there was a mandatory pre-bid meeting held on April 26th. We had 4 contractors present at the mandatory pre-bid meeting. Unfortunately, only one contractor decided to submit a bid. Star Environmental was the lowest, most responsive bidder with a total bid of $320,000. This is higher than what our initial estimate was. However, that was over 6 months ago, and prices have been increasing on just about everything substantially since that time. So Abbenmarsh reached back out to a couple of the vendors who did not bid on the project, shared the amount that we did receive, and just asked them for their feedback on that. They both indicated that it was lower than they would have bid, would they have submitted a bid. And the price doesn't seem to be terribly out of line with other projects that we're seeing being bid out at this current time. So we would like to move forward with this project. Again, federal ESSER dollars would be used for this purpose, and this project will take place this summer. But we are asking for your approval of Star Environmental as the lowest, most responsive bidder for this project.
So move.
Second. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Nothing in policy updates. 11, communications. 11.01, public announcements. A reception for the 2022 SEM retirees will take place on May 25th, 2022 at 5:15 p.m. at the Ad Center prior to the board meeting. And the JYMS musical Lady Pirates of the Caribbean will perform May 19th, the 21st, or through the 21st of 2022. If there's nothing else to come before the board, this meeting is adjourned.